How's it going, guys? So the flavor of the month here lately seems to be the Rorqual. So I thought, why not give it a shot and show everyone what it's all about. In the background here, you see that I'm mining with 3 hulks, a orca, and a freighter. This is how I usually roll in high sec. In low or null sec, I usually do a porpoise, 3 barges, and a miasmos to keep it on the cheap. It's a bit of a pain with all the dragging. I use a freighter in high sec because I hate hauling. It's a real pain. So when I do null sec mining, I really dislike it because of all the dragging and hauling I must do. But with that said, I joined the null sec alliance to do this segment, give this a shot, and see what it's all about. So let's take a look. I need to point out that I do not have perfect skills for this ship before I do this review. I can only use the Industrial Core 1. The Industrial Core 2 provides an additional, it goes from 500% to 600% for the drone harvest amount. In addition, you get 5% velocity to the drone speeds with the Tech 2 core. The Tech 2 core does use more heavy water. In addition to that, if you have the Industrial Capital ship leveled up to 5, you will consume less heavy water to use the Industrial Core. Mine is not at 5, so most people that have this skill max will use far less water than I will. However, I do have perfect boosting skills and perfect logistic skills for the shield rubbers. So some of the pros of this thing: it has the best mining boosts in the game, hands down, which is great. Also, if you've ever done any nullsec mining, especially with hawks, the hawks have terrible tanks. Well, this ship is able to keep them alive. So no matter what spawns, I don't have to warp out. It's great. Minus a capital spawn like a dread, then you're definitely going to need to warp them things out of there. You can carry tons of drones, man. I think I had like 70 or something in there, and there was still more room. So if you'll never run out of drones. You got all sorts of options and flavors you can toss in there. The compression is amazing. You no longer need a hauler in your operations now. And because of this feature, I can watch a movie when I mine, which is not usually the case in nullsec because I have all this dragging to do and hauling back and forth between the station. But just the fact that I can right-click, compress, throw it in the ore hold, I could stay in there indefinitely, like forever. I mean, it would take so long to fill this thing. Usually after I get like a billion ISK worth of ore, I'll dock, drop it off, and then come back or probably go to sleep at that point. But the no hauler needed on this is awesome. About the shield wrapper, I don't know if I thought outside the box on this, but I thought I'd mention it. Most fits call for a capital shield wrapper, which does 900 every 12 seconds HP, which sounds great. However, it takes a lot to fit that. What I ended up doing is using 2 large shield wrapper 2s, which rep for about 650 every 6 seconds. So I could, if you do the math, obviously that's more, and it was plenty to keep the hawks up, and I could run those things for a very long time without running out of cap, so it seemed to work out pretty good. So some of the cons on this thing is the cycle time on the Industrial Core. It has a 5-minute cycle time. It works just like the Bastion module on like a Marauder. When you unclick it, once the cycle is complete, it'll turn off. So in this case, you're stuck in place. If it just cycled and you have 5 minutes remaining, if hostiles are on the way, if luck is on your side and there's hostiles close by that's reported, you only have 20 seconds left, that's not a big deal. But as you know, that's never the case. So it can really put you on edge because you have a lot of money on the field. And that's the other con. This whole setup is very expensive. Paired with that Industrial Core, everyone wants to use this. It's amazing. No miner should be without one of these. I mean, we should all be able to use them anywhere, in my opinion. And because of that cycle time, it makes it very difficult and only available for those that have the support fleet to come to their aid when they're in trouble. The other con about the ship is the heavy water usage. Now, as I mentioned before, my skills are not maxed for this. So I was spending about 75 to 80 million on heavy water for every billion that I made. So about 8% cut from a billion. And you know what? That's not a real big ask for the amount of money that I made in that time with it and the utility that it brought. It was definitely worth it. It wasn't a big deal. You could mine your own ice or do PI to get to heavy water, but those are two opportunity cost things. So it's not like it's free, you're still going to pay for it in some way. But the upkeep cost for it is not unreasonable in my opinion. I think it's pretty fair. Well, enough talking, let's make some money, man. So I'm going to make a billion ISK in a time lapse here, and then once it's complete, I'll go over some ISK per hour numbers and show you what the true potential of something like this is with the skills that I have available.
Feelings for you.
The time lapse you just watched was over a 4.5 hour period. That's how long it took me to make a billion ISK. I did this right after downtime, so none of the anomalies were cherry picked, which gave me the opportunity to mine Arcanor, Bistot, Crocite, Gneiss, and lastly Spod. I mined from most valuable to least valuable on what was available. In the area that I was mining, I found that after downtime, if you get a jump start, you get about 3 hours. After 3 hours, all the anomalies are typically cherry picked, and the only thing left is spodumene and dark, which really cut into the ISK per hour that you can make. So I did this right after downtime, and people did show up. That if you noticed there towards the end, it took me much longer. The income was reduced drastically, and that was the reason. All the good ore was taken, so I switched the spot there at the end. Hold on to your butts because it's math time. Now my Hawk pilots are not perfect, but they're pretty close. Right now they can mine per strip. We're using spodumene for the math. They can mine 1,593 M3 per strip every 57.6 seconds. Times that by 2 because each Hawk has 2 strips, times 3 Hawks. That comes out to about 923 blocks an hour of spodumene on paper, which is not realistic or even close. It could never mine that because this is paper math. I'll get to that in a minute. Then the Rorqual using the T1 industrial core, with my skills, I can mine 1,815.23 M3 per drone, and that comes out on paper to about 2,630 blocks of spodumene, which is absolutely impossible as well. With the paper math that I just explained to you, I should have made 1 billion ISK in 1 hour instead of 4.5. And this is just with the low value rock. In this case, I got to cherry pick Arcanar, Bistot, Crocite, Gneiss, and then lastly spodumene. The reason these values are off is because a lot of things that don't have static numbers aren't in the math, and I want to go over that. First, you have travel time for the drones. They're not static because it changes on the size of the ore that you're mining plus the distance they have to travel. The spodumene rocks in particular are pretty large, and it could take over 30 seconds sometimes to recall those. The travel time between the rocks, like the rocks won't last forever. Once they pop, you have to wait for the industrial core to decycle. Then you'll travel 80 ms to the next rock of value, which could be 20 or 40 km away. That takes time. Then of course you have hostiles that might get close. You'll have to dock up for safety. And then anytime the rats spawn, you have to wait 30 seconds or so to pull those drones in. Then deploy drones, fight the rats, bring the drones back, then deploy your miner drones and resume mining again. And then lastly, sometimes you have those jerks that'll just park next to your Rorqual and mine the same rock. So all this can't be really included into the paper math. So that's why I didn't make 1 billion ISK in an hour. I made 1 billion ISK in 4.5. That's a realistic number. The big question you're asking right now is how much can you make an hour using something like this? Well, it's really hard to communicate that because in this case, the designated systems I had to choose from right after downtime, they get picked clean within a couple hours. So I had the opportunity to get in there and get 2 hours of really good mining in. If you had a little private system out of the way that no one bothered with and you could focus on the good ores, oh man, you could definitely make some numbers there. For me though, I get about 2 hours of the good stuff and then down to spodumene. Also, it all depends on your time zone and who, when everyone's on as well. If you're getting off of work and like 12 hours later, you don't have much to choose from. And to pop the existing rocks in these, like the spodumene rocks and stuff, are very large and take a long time to clear. So it's hard to really say how much you can make per hour, but I will say that if you're a multi-boxer or you have a bunch of friends you mine with, you won't really care because the sheer utility that this provides and the ease of use of it and the protection and staying power that you have with it, it just provides so many benefits to you that you don't really look at it in terms of ISK per hour. You just look at it as, oh my God, this is so much better. And it's really going to suck to go back to the way I'm used to mining because after experiencing this, it's really hard to go back because it's like the Cadillac of all mining. It really makes things so much better. It really does. It simplifies everything for you and it's much easier to manage. Well, on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I personally like the ship and wish I could take it with me back to Empire. At the very least, I hope one day they add compression to Empire so I don't have to use a freighter anymore because, like I said, hauling is not a fun task. Alright guys, you have a good one.